Good afternoon, everyone. This is the DVMUG February 3rd, 2026 Zoom meeting. We will be following our typical format of news, followed by videos, followed by miscellany, quality questions and answers, and social hour. And we can start out with this week's news. News items for this meeting. First item, Apple just spent $2 billion on QAI, an AI company you've probably never heard of. Apple QAI is an Israeli AI startup for nearly $2 billion. For nearly $2 billion. The acquisition, Apple's second largest ever, aims to bolster its internal AI efforts, known as Apple Intelligence, which have faced delays and controversies. The deal highlights Apple's commitment to advancing its AI capabilities and competing with industry leaders like Google and OpenAI. This is reported by John Kanalakos of PocketLint.com. Second item, real or fake? Tips and tools for identifying AI-generated images. AI-generated images are becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish from real ones, raising concerns about misinformation. While AI tools like Google Gemini can help identify AI-created images through digital watermarks, these methods are not foolproof. Additional strategies for identifying AI imaging includes detection tools like content credentials and was it AI, examining text for errors, checking image resolution, and conducting reverse image searches, reported by Rebecca Brandes of nicenews.com. Third item, analysts caught the flat-footed as iPhone supply, not demand, capped growth. Apple's recent earnings report exceeded expectations, driven by strong demand for iPhones and other products. However, analysts noted that supply constraints, particularly for key components, are now the primary factor limiting Apple's growth. While demand remains robust globally, Apple's ability to meet this demand is constrained by its manufacturing capacity and the availability of advanced components. Following a synopsis on these news items. First item, QAI is a remarkable company of 100 employees that is pioneering new and creative ways to use imaging and machine learning, says Apple's Senior Vice President of Hardware Technologies, John Schroeke, in a statement to Reuters. Joining Apple opens extraordinary possibilities for pushing boundaries and realizing the full potential of what we've created, and we're thrilled to bring these experiences to people everywhere, says Mazel's QAI CEO in a separate statement to Reuters. Back during a third quarter earnings call in July 2025, Apple CEO Tim Cook stated on record that the company is open to mergers and acquisitions that accelerates our roadmap. Scooping up QAI is certainly in line with this statement, and at least to me, says John Kanalakos, it signals that Apple isn't ready to bow out of the AI arms race anytime soon. If Apple wants to control the AI stack from top to bottom, then it needs for all the help it can get. And so perhaps this QAI acquisition is symbolic of Apple putting its money where its mouth is. Any comments or questions? Second item, artificial intelligence imagery is getting harder and harder to spot. In the best case scenario, we end up simply laughing at a funny moment that never actually happened. In the worst case, we buy into misinformation that warps our perception of what's actually going on in the world. So, as technology continues moving on at the speed of light, how do we keep up with the changes? Ironically, AI can help with that. As Popular Science points out, one way to determine if a photo has been produced using Google's Gemini is to upload the image to Gemini and ask, was this picture created with AI? This works only with Gemini-generated imagery. Luckily, There are other tips, tricks, and digital tools for spotting AI imagery. Use AI detection tools, check the text, check the resolution, do a reverse image search. Does anything else seem off? Well, details on these tips and tricks are at the URL below. And of course, this is available on the BBS for you to do that. Any comments or questions? Third item. For the quarter ending December 27, 2025, Apple reported $143.8 billion in revenue, up 16% year over year, with earnings per share of $2.84. iPhone revenue climbed 23% to $85.3 billion, and Apple told investors to expect March quarter revenue growth of 13% to 16%, alongside gross margins between 48% and 49%. Now, this article, as you read the title, analysts caught flat-footed as iPhone supply not demand kept growth. This article deals with supply issues, but Andrew could not avoid pointing out that Apple had a fantastic earnings quarter nonetheless. Details on that fantastic earnings quarter can be found in the insert item by 6 colors that some of you may have already read since John posted it on the BBS a few days ago. This slide is on the BBS so that you can click that URL and read the article if you've not seen it already. Back to the item. The quarter shifted the focus from demand to how much Apple can actually produce given the tight supply situation. Analysts are now concentrating on capacity instead of revenue. Analysts opine on the status. Deepwater says demand is better than the guidance suggests. Evercore ISI claims Apple left sales on the table. JP Morgan says Apple supply is the bigger issue than costs. TD Cowen, strong demand limited by how much Apple can build. Wedbush, supply chain limits are now the main bottleneck. Across all these firms, the message was consistent. Apple's products are selling well, demand is global, and customers continue to favor higher-end models. The limiting factor is how many devices Apple can physically make and ship in a tight supply environment. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I went in to buy a new phone at AT&T, and they told me they couldn't sell me one because they didn't have any.
Ah,
They could take a reservation, but there was no telling when it would come in.
uh-huh, uh-huh. So it's hitting home.
Close to home. So, I mean, they give a better trade-in for your old phone than Apple does. So that's why I wanted to go to AT&T, but they said real backlog. And I just wanted the basic 17, and they could not, they have none in stock.
Uh-huh. Uh, all right. Okay, so we move on to the videos. This slide is just a reminder to say that this already exists on the BBS, and you can get to any of them by clicking on the URL because they're in a PDF format. First video by Gary Rosenzweig of MacMost, 10 Secrets of the Mac Dock. Learn about some hidden and non-obvious features of the Mac Dock, such as icons that show you information, how to quickly access settings, add specs, and more.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Here are some useful features of the Mac Dock that you may not know about. So, of course, the main purpose of the dock is to hold your most common app icons so you can easily launch them. Some of the icons have a little bit of functionality to them. I want to draw your attention to this one, the calendar icon. If you look at the calendar app in the applications folder, you'll see that it has this default app icon that stays the same all the time. But in the dock, if you've got calendar there, it actually shows you today's day and date. So this is another place you can view it. You could also, of course, have it in the menu bar at the top right. I actually have it turned off here. And if you go into System Settings and then Menu Bar, and you can look there and you've got clock options. So if you want to disable the date in the menu bar because you've already got it here in the dock in the calendar icon, you can do so. A similar app is the clock app. You could see the icon for it here in the applications folder, but it doesn't show the time there. It always shows 10:09. However, if you were to drag it to the dock and add it there, notice the icon in the dock shows the actual time. So that could be an alternative to looking in the menu bar for the clock. Unfortunately, you can't get rid of the clock completely from the menu bar, as it has the functionality of being where you click to bring up Notification Center. But when the menu bar isn't visible, say you have it hidden normally or just hidden when you're looking at full screen app windows, you also can check the dock for the time. Now, there is another app that will actually show you information if it's in the dock, but you have to put it in the dock and turn it on. You won't find it in the applications folder. You have to go down into the utilities folder inside the applications folder. Then you see it here with its regular icon. Drag that to the dock, put it wherever you like. And at first it won't show you anything. Even when you launch it, it's not going to show you anything. But you can go to View and then go to Dock Icon and set it to show CPU usage, CPU history, network usage, and disk activity. If you leave it at Show Application Icon, then it just shows the default icon. So for instance, I can do CPU history here, and then the icon here will change to be this little chart here that will, go from right to left, showing you the current CPU usage. Let's switch it here to, say, disk activity, and then we'll see a little graph there. And of course, this is the same information you'll get here if you go to disk in Activity Monitor. But you don't have to keep Activity Monitor visible now. You can hide it. I'll use Command H or hide Activity Monitor right there. And you can see it's still going to update here in the dock. Notice if you go to Activity Monitor and you quit it, then the icon reverts back to the regular icon. So Activity Monitor has to be running, but it can be hidden and still show you updated information in the icon. I note that another place where you could change the setting for what it shows is just by control clicking, right clicking, or two-finger clicking on the icon itself while Activity Monitor is running. And there's dock icon there, and you can select one of these four or to show the regular icon. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Another icon that has a little bit of functionality isn't one of the app icons, but the Downloads folder icon. The Downloads folder is on the right side of the dock, of course, and if you happen to have it in there and you're downloading something, it'll show progress as a little progress bar underneath the icon. So for instance, I'm going to download this file right here, then watch the Downloads folder. And then you can see the little progress bar there in the Downloads folder. It's going to show you the total amount of progress for any and all downloads going on right now. Now, one element that's not an icon in the dock is the little line that separates the right and left sides of the dock. Actually, you may have two of those lines. If in System Settings, under Desktop and Dock, you've got the Show Suggested and Recent Apps in the dock. If you have that turned on, you'll have two of these divider lines. One separating the apps from the suggested and recent apps, and then another separator before the files, folders, and trash section, the right side of the dock. It doesn't matter if you've got one or two of these. You can use this line for more than just being a visual divider. One thing you can do is right-click, two-finger click on a trackpad, or just hold the control key down and click, and you get a context menu. And the context menu gives you access to some of the dock settings without needing to go into system settings. You can turn hiding on or off, turn magnification on or off, position the dock on the left, right, or bottom of the screen, and set how the animation works for minimizing an app, whether it's the little genie shrink effect or a regular scale. You can also get right to the dock settings from here. You can also do something else with the line. Instead of the control key, hold the command key down, and then you can click and drag up or down to change the size of the icons. You can't go larger than the amount of space you've got. So this is as large as I can get, but I could certainly go a lot smaller. So you can adjust the size without having to go into settings and seeing exactly what it looks like so you can try out different sizes. Now, another thing you can do with the dock is you can use it as not just an app switcher by clicking on any app here, but also as a window switcher. So for instance, here in Pages, I have 3 different windows open, but if I control click, right click, 2-finger click, or simply click and hold for a second, I get a list that shows me all of the currently open windows. And I could bring one to the front by selecting it. Even if I've, say, minimized one window and then maybe hidden the app with Command H, I can still see all of these here. It shows a diamond next to the minimize window, and it shows the other 2 windows, including which one is the currently active one, even when the app is hidden. So I can jump to any window I want from any state using the context menu here in a dock app icon. Notice it even also shows recently opened documents in some apps, like here in Pages. Now you may notice in my dock, I've got 2 spots where there's a red circle with a number in it. These are called badges, and they show you how many notifications are pending. I have 3 notifications in Mail and 1 here in Reminders. Now, sometimes they're useful. You may want to see that there's a notification there in Reminders. Sometimes, though, you may want to hide these for certain apps. You can do this by going into System Settings and then going to Notifications. And then you can go to the app that you want. So for instance, let's go to Reminders here. And when I look at the settings for Reminders, I could see here badge application icon. If I turn this off, notice the badge goes away. You could do this for any app. So only keep the badge application icon setting turned on for your most important apps, and perhaps hide it for apps where you really don't care about the number of notifications. Now, for Mail, you could do the same thing right here, turn off the badge completely. But Mail has a special setting. You go into Mail and then you go into Settings here, then go to General. In General, you could change the unread count. Here, it's going to show unread messages in primary. You could set it to inbox only, and you could see I've got a different number there, or all mailboxes. In other words, all unread mail, even stuff that's archived and in other folders where you've saved things. If it's marked as unread, then it's going to add to that number. In most cases, you probably just want to have inbox only or primary. But you could also do some things here with smart mailboxes. Any smart mailbox that you create, you could set that instead. Now, a question I get asked a lot is about the dots that appear under apps. You can see one there underneath Pages. If we run some other apps, like we'll run Freeform here and Calendar here, then we could see there are dots under there. That just shows that the app is currently running. So you could tell which apps are closed completely and which apps have a window or are just running in the background even without a window. But if you don't like those dots, as some people don't, you can go into System Settings, go to Desktop and Dock, and there is the Show Indicators for Open Application setting. You switch that off and now you have no more dots. Now my last tip is about arranging the app icons in the dock. Of course, you can click and drag and rearrange them as you like. You want to group them together. There's really no way to actually define a group, except you could add a small space that doesn't contain any icon at all. And this can help with grouping. The way to do that is you have to go into Terminal. Then you have to use this exact command. It's going to use the defaults command, and you're going to write to the com.apple.dock preferences. You're going to change a setting called persistent-apps. That has in it a list, an array. So you're going to add to it with -array-add. And then the element you're going to add is this one right here. It's basically the property title type equals spacer-title. So you have to type this exactly. Don't make any mistakes. I'll include something for you to copy and paste at the post at macpost.com for this video. So I'm going to press return, and it's not going to do anything right away because the dock has to restart. To restart the dock, you do kill all, which is one word, then dock, which is a capital D. When you do that, you'll see the dock restart. then you'll see this space that's now placed there. It's placed at the end. I've got some running apps here, but at the end of my persistent apps, it's there. And I could click and drag this space just like it was an icon. I could put it somewhere to create a divider. So I can use that. Now, that's a pretty big space. So there is an alternative. If you do the same exact thing, except small dash spacer dash tile, then you can add a small one. You have to do kill all, dock again, and you'll see this smaller space here, and you could drag that and use that as a divider instead of the larger one. To get rid of either one of these, just drag it like it's an icon up and away, and you can easily remove them. So I hope these tips help you get the most from the Mac dock. Thanks for watching. Want to know about every new MacMost video?
Well, any comments or questions?
Good stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I really like the idea of putting spaces in the dock to help organize it, set apart groups of apps.
I wonder if you can do that with the utility that's been around forever called Tinker Tool. You can go in there and it's likely a GUI to the terminal where you can just click on it. You don't have to type anything. You have all kinds of things you can mess with Tinker Tool.
I personally like that little dot underneath the apps, so I know that they're open.
Yeah, I wouldn't get rid of that.
I'm notorious for having too many open, as Rick can tell you. But I'm learning, Command Tab, Command Q, and I'm getting better. But I need those dots down there to remind me, oh crap, I need to do that.
I found it. I never knew you could put the activity monitor in the dock, hide it, and choose what to show, because I have people do this when they're having a problem. Their computer's slow or it's spinning, it won't respond. And you got to tell them to open activity and leave it open and put it on CPU and see what it is that's going red and going to 100%. Well, you could see that in the graph in the dock. That would be great.
I didn't know that by right-clicking on it, you also can create these little monitor windows, like widgets. So you don't have to have the whole big window open.
I think I've done that before, but I forgot. Where's Kenji? I need to make you co-host. You come in late. Kenji.
So if
you're way up here.
So when activity monitor is open, and then you right-click on the dock icon, you have it. There's two listings. There's monitors and then dock icons. And the dock icon has a pop out to show, where you choose what you want the dock icon to show. But right above it, it's where it says monitors. You can create these little monitor windows that say show CPU usage, show CPU history, show clear CPU history. I guess just those three. And those are smaller windows of their own.
Am I the only one here that really didn't even know there was an activity monitor?
It's very useful. Here's troubleshooting. You can look at all kinds, how your disk is doing, what's using up all, especially when you're having a problem when the computer's slow or something. You see if the computer's busy, how your network is transferring stuff. You wonder why it's something going wrong. That's how you figure it out.
Oh,
It's also a good place to be able to quit applications that are giving you a problem. You can always do Command, Option, Escape, but sometimes that doesn't work for everything. There are some things.
It doesn't make for all the hidden. You can't kill the hidden apps. Don't show up in Command Option.
Right.
All the invisible ones, you can see what's running. You can quit all the apps on your dock, so you think nothing is running. You go look at Activity Monitor, and you see all the stuff that's running. There's dozens and dozens of things running in the background, especially if you install stuff that launches at startup time that goes in your menu bar or background things and all these things in your browser extensions that are running in the background, you load up with that stuff, it'll really slow things down.
Hmm.
I
Well,
tend to just do things in terminal with the proper commands instead of counting on some GUI app that I have to learn how to use.
Oh, it's much easier to look in the GUI and see a menu and say, do this rather than, how do I do that? You'd have to know what to type.
Right. But there's a lot you can do in terminal, and it's
A lot
very
of stuff,
useful.
a lot of people have written utilities to replicate terminal commands for different things.
Yeah.
Like Carbon Copy Cloner is just a GUI interface to rsync. That's all it is.
Right.
can while we throw the term around GUI, can you explain it to me?
Graphical User Interface. That's
GUI.
that's the Windows operating system, the Mac operating system that's composed to the original PC DOS or the terminal or Unix, where everything's typed in a line. Like you said, you have to type it in, you have to know what to type. There's no visual reference except typing.
My suggestion is if you don't know what you're doing, stay out of terminal.
Oh yeah, if you make a mistake, you can ruin your machine.
Thank you, Ken. That's exactly what I was going to do. It sounds like something that's over my head. It's like trying to explain an internal combustion engine about overhead cams to somebody who says, I just wanted to
I
start.
only use terminal if somebody tells me something to do and where it's copy and paste. Okay, you need to do this. Gary said he posted in the comments on it. So you go in there and you copy this long line and you paste it in.
Mike,
And you hit return and then that works.
You have an overhead cam in your rotary engine?
Who knows? Because I don't, in the early 80s, I quit rebuilding engines. I just want to drive.
Okay.
Same with my computer. I don't need to take it apart. I just want it to work.
No, but cars aren't fun anymore because you can't work on them.
Actually, I think it makes it a little bit more fun.
I think the discussion is very interesting, but I think we're getting a little straight.
Let me say one more thing before we move on. So an activity monitor, it's really useful if your computer is running, you seem to be stuck or things are barely moving or not moving at all. And if you open up activity monitor, you can, in the CPU tab, you can see instantly in the order of things that are using CPU, if something is using like 190% of your processor, that might be what's hanging you up. It might be, and you can go way over 100% because it's because you have multiple processors. But and then you can literally click on that item and right click on it, I think, and
there's a kill button at the top of it. It says in the menu there's a kill.
I'd like to add something to that, what he was talking about. Your downloads folder. If by some chance you alter something or you alter it, you're going to see either a stack or a folder. And that's if you hold your command key down and click on it, you're going to get the options. It's up to you to put down there what you see. For those of you that don't see the folder itself, it's been changed, and you can reverse it back to what it was.
Also, he didn't mention about the sort of semicircle pop-up that comes up when you click on the download folder to see everything.
You can change it. You can option click on it. You can change it. It can go by.
Right, but
you can make it a fan shape, a grid shape, a list, or
right,
automatic.
but he didn't cover that.
No, and you can sort it by name and write all the regular things, and you can make it display as a folder or a stack. There's options. So it used to be default. It's supposed to be on the right side of your dock next to the trash can, but I don't know if it still is. A lot of people don't have the downloads on their dock, and they don't even know the downloads folder exists. And it's good to have it there because everything you do, if you read Gmail on the web and you view an attachment, it goes in the downloads every time you view it. So if you go back and I've seen you go in there and there's just multiple downloads of the same image. You kept opening an email over and they just stack up in there and you get thousands of things in there.
I believe you have to drag. I think if it's not there, you have to drag it to the dock.
At one time, it was default there,
Yes,
and
that's
I
true.
I don't think it is anymore.
I think you're right, but it still shows up on the right side
Mine's there.
when you drag it there.
Yeah, you can access it from the sidebar, or it's in the Go menu, Go downloads.
Jan's got a question. You're
Yeah,
muted, Jan.
I've always wondered this about the dock. I always have to say show in open in Finder view. Why do they add that? What's the view that it's normally in without the Finder? What good is it?
Well, I think by default it's set to fan view, which you press on it and it gives this arc of stuff that goes up. I don't find that very
not an arc.
useful. Mine just says open downloads. I like it in list view.
I'm sorry, what was your question, Jan?
When I have something in downloads and I want to get to it, when I click on it, it's got open in Finder and options. I can't.
You got an option click on it. Open in Finder means open the folder in the Finder so you can view it normally. If you don't hold the option key or the command key.
But why do they do that? Why doesn't it just open that way normally?
That's the way it's made.
It's an Appleism.
Called Apple Intelligence.
If you want almost anything you do on the Mac, folders or icons that you click on, you just need to explore. Hold the option key and click on it. Hold the command key and click on it. You'll get different things.
So Jan, you want to open a document or you want to open the document folder? You're muted again.
If you just click on it, you don't get the
You're-
list. You
you're
can't see
muted,
what's
Jan.
in there. Let's move on. We're still in the video section.
Let's hear what Jan was saying first.
Well, I just wondered why can't it open in a form where I can just get the file I want to download it and drag it somewhere? I have to push open in Finder first.
I guess the best answer is that's what Apple decided they wanted to do.
Well, wouldn't they need a reason?
So,
I
so
guess
let me
not.
suggest
Depends what marketing
an alternative to it.
does it.
Have the download folder in your sidebar, and then you'll have it available in every Finder window, and you can open it directly from there.
I download to the desktop, then I move it where I want it.
Let's move on.
You can
Okay.
do that too.
Whatever.
Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, so we're going to move on now to the
Yes,
second
please.
by Alan Sweeney, iOS tips for seniors. iPhone contact shortcuts, save and share fast. There's a T on the end of that, it's supposed to be. In this video, she shows you step-by-step how to save phone numbers from the Mail app into contacts, to add numbers to existing contacts, to share contact information using messages, mail, or AirDrop, and to use name drop to change contact info with another iPhone. Let's see what she says.
Fast is faster than
Hi
fast.
everyone, it's Ellen from Ellen's Tips for iOS. Today we're going to learn 2 super useful tips: how to save phone numbers you receive in an email or even your Messages app directly into your contacts, and then how to share your contacts with family and friends without typing manually. These are great iPhone tips for staying connected. Let's get started. Have you ever opened an email or message with a phone number and wished your iPhone could just save it for you? Well, it can. Here's how. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to open the Mail app. So if you need to locate it, you can just pull down on the screen, type Mail into the search bar. You'll see the Mail app. Go ahead and open it. Locate the email that has the phone number that you want to transfer to your contacts. Once you do that, you're going to want to press and hold on the phone number. Don't just tap it, press and hold on it. Once you do that, you'll see that a menu pops up, and on the menu, you're going to choose Add to Contacts. The contact information will pop up, and now you need to choose whether you want to create a new contact or add to an existing contact. If I choose Create a New Contact, you'll see that immediately the phone number is added in, and then you can add the other information that you need to, and when you're finished, hit the check mark in the upper right corner. I'm going to X out of there for now, and I'll say Discard Changes. If you want to add it to an existing contact, go ahead and press and hold on it. Choose Add to Contacts. Once you do that, add to an existing contact, and then choose the contact that you want to add it to. So if I choose John, once I do, you'll see that that number has been added. I can tap on the check mark, and now that contact information has been added to an existing contact. And just like that, you don't have to remember or retype those numbers anymore. Now that you've added someone to your iPhone contacts, let's talk about sharing that contact information with someone else. You can choose to share your own contact card or someone else's without typing it all out again. Here's the classic way to share a contact. You'll want to open the Contacts app. So again, I've already typed it into the search bar. So I'll open the Contacts app. And there's a couple of different ways that you can share the contact. If I open the contact, I can scroll down and you'll see an option to share contact. Another method you can choose is pushing and holding on the contact and then choosing Share, and the option will pop up. Once the option is available to you, you can see that you can check off everything that you want to send in the contact information, or if there's something that you don't want to send, you can uncheck that. I'll go ahead and uncheck the birth date, and then I'll tap the check mark in the upper right corner. And once I do that, you'll see the options become available to how I want to share it. I can choose AirDrop, Messages, or Mail. For this video, I'm going to just choose Messages right now, and you'll see that the contact information has been placed into the message box. Type in the individual you want to send it to, and then hit the send icon in the lower right corner. If I choose to share that contact information by mail, I can choose Mail. A new email will pop up. It'll add the contact information, and I can put in who I want to send it to and tap on the send icon in the upper right corner. So it's very easy to go ahead and share somebody's contact information. Now for a really cool iPhone feature, it's called Name Drop. It's like a digital business card, and what you need to do is push your iPhone or hold your iPhone to the top of another iPhone. So what you're seeing here is I have two iPhones on my desk. I'm just going to push my one iPhone closer to the other. And in a second, you're going to see the contact information pop up. And here then, I can choose whether to just share my info or receive info only. So you can share information with the other individual. And this is perfect when you're with someone in person and want to exchange info quickly without typing. Here are a couple of tips and reminders. If you receive contact information in a message, all you have to do is tap on that contact and choose whether or not to share the contact, create a new contact, or add to an existing contact. So in this case, if somebody shares their information with you and you don't have it, you would choose create a new contact, and the information begins to fill in, and you can add the information that you need. You want to make sure that your contacts are synced with iCloud so that all of your devices get updated. So to check that, open the Settings app, locate and open the Settings app, choose your name at the top, tap on iCloud, and then where it says Save to iCloud, choose See All. Scroll down and just make sure that your contacts are turned on so that it's all syncing with iCloud and will be transferred to all your devices. Now, the last feature I showed you, Name Drop, it works best if you have both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi turned on because it uses the same tech as AirDrop does. Let's do a quick recap. Press and hold a phone number in Mail or Messages to save it to the Contacts app. You can also use that method to share your contacts from the Contacts app. We also want to use Name Drop to swap a contact card info with someone nearby. These simple tools can make staying in touch so much easier on your iPhone. If you learned something new today, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more iPhone tips. Let me know in the comments who's the first person you're going to share contact info using Name Drop. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Well, comments or questions? Well, I thought they were pretty handy about transferring phone numbers myself.
Yeah. As I understood it, if you want to, like if I wanted to give Jan my information and we're in the same room, we could just touch the top of our phones to each other. There'd be like a little wavelength go through there, and my contact information would go to her phone and vice versa.
Yes,
Yeah. I didn't see any of that, but I mean,
that was called Name Drop.
Yeah.
exactly.
That was the whole thing she showed at the end, yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Okay,
Sorry.
so this is Joyce. I'm chiming in early today, and I want to let you know that I use this a lot, and it's always good because it's accurate. It's not like, oh, I can retype that for myself, but then it's not always. But if you just switch it across, you get what they had, and we're always getting.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about, like if I told everybody mine was Michael 333 at blah, 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 somebody's going to type that in and put a space between Michael 333 or at whatever, you know. Yeah, it's a lot easier it's in there and don't even worry about it. You're right, Joyce. It is. It's
It's a
just
great example, Mike. Great example.
less keystrokes, less mistakes.
Mike, though, there's one thing you should know about this. Is when you do that, it actually takes the whole thing, whatever
Exactly.
you have there. So
That's the
make
reason I
sure.
have two contacts. One just has my basic information, and it doesn't have my address, has my phone number for text messages and an email address. So yeah.
Or
I
just
think you
uncheck
guys-
the stuff
I
that you
think
don't want
you-
sent.
I think there's a setting for sharing that, so when you share it, you can only share certain things and you get to
Right.
choose what you share.
Well, yeah, if you share contact, then yeah.
That would have been
So-
useful to explain further in her video.
So Mike, what exactly is your workflow to do that? I've got my phone, you've got your phone. You're going to share your contact. What exactly do you do? What exactly do I do?
All we do is have the tops of them touch each other. And
It's
you'll
what
see
she
it.
showed, yeah, it's what she showed in the video.
You'll see it. You'll see a little wave go through your phone and their phone.
But
as
you have to have that contact up already, right? Or no?
No,
No,
So how do you share a different contact with some people than other people?
Well, you can't
Well,
do
then
that
you're going
via
to have to
name
go to
drop.
that contact and hit share contact and go through
Yeah.
AirDrop or whatever.
You can't,
So
name drop
she-
only works with your
My phone,
contact, not
person by
somebody
person.
else's.
Yeah.
So
Wait, one
she
at a
was,
time.
One at a time.
Because you just
So-
said that you have a
Joyce?
simplified contact, so you don't share everything.
Yeah.
So
I
how do you
don't,
do?
I don't, okay, I see what you're saying, Kenji. No, I don't do that very often because I don't want them to have all my information. I will hit the one and check off the ones I want to give them or the card that I want to give them and just share that one through AirDrop,
Okay.
not name drop. Name drop
So
will take
that-
everything
so-
that's on your card.
So that means you'd have to set your alternate one with
Yeah.
limit information as your default contact, because that's the one it shares.
yeah,
Right.
she didn't explain that very well.
If I did it a lot, you're right. I don't.
It would be
Because Joyce can
easier if you added the preferences for your and only have one contact and then you set the preference for that, only share these 3 items. Don't share all my other stuff, my birth date, my home address and stuff. You can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but for my particular lifestyle, it's easier just to have a second one where I send the whole thing. And if it's like Joyce knows from being in the class, I'll send that one to anybody, AirDrop wise. I don't do a lot of that touching stuff.
No,
If you'll
That's
pardon the
right.
expression, I didn't mean to
that's all right.
mention touching stuff in your name in the same sentence, but it just came out.
That's okay. But to tell you the truth, I don't do this often. So it's not like every day I find somebody, let me get your information. It's just when you
Exactly.
need to do it, it's very efficient.
Yes. Yes. And by now, everybody that needs all that information, my address, my multiple email addresses, already has it. I mean, family's the only one that needs all that stuff.
Does anybody remember how this originally started with a Palm Pilot came out and it had infrared and you would beam your card via infrared between
Yep.
your business
Oh, I
card.
remember that.
Everybody said,
Yeah.
woohoo!
Yeah, we thought it was hot stuff back then.
Yeah.
Well, back then it was.
I still have a Palm Pilot.
I do too. It's gathering. I came across the other day. It's gathering dust in the drawer in there.
Hmm.
Mine's
You can
sitting
sell-
getting charged in case I want a
can-
very old phone number.
You can sell your Palm Pilot on eBay. I sold my Palm Trio on eBay. Somebody actually wanted it and gave me money for it.
Wow.
Let's
Actually have
move on.
a Trio 650, but I don't.
Yes.
But at some point I recycled the charger though, so I can't charge it to see if it still works.
Yeah, that's a proprietary charger. I
Yeah,
had a
let's
dock.
move on.
I
Go ahead,
sold the
Lee.
dock. It had a dock, accessory dock that it went into. I sold the whole thing now. I think I got $50 for it or something.
I need to find somebody who can replace the battery. Good luck.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
Moving on. Third video is by
Thank
Brooke
you.
Tierney. The iPad Files app finally makes sense. Now, this video is interesting to me because when I travel, I usually have to take my iPad and my Mac book. And I think with this information, you can just take your iPad. The Files app on iPad used to be frustrating, limiting, and unfinished, especially if you tried to use your iPad for real work. And the Files app now is very functional. With iPad OS 26, Apple finally made some meaningful changes that actually improved how file management works on iPad. In this video, she walks you through the most useful iPad OS 26 Files app updates, how to customize the sidebar columns and views, better ways to organize folders, tags, and files, drag and drop multi-select, quick look, and previews, default apps, external drives, and file information. You don't need a brand new iPad to benefit from this, but you do need to have iPad OS, iOS 26, iPad OS 26. Whether you use your iPad for schoolwork or just staying organized, these changes finally make the Files app feel usable.
For years, the Files app on the iPad was painful to use. It was super basic and missing a ton of features. But thankfully with iPadOS 26, Apple has fixed a lot of the problems and completely revamped the Files app and made it much more similar to the Finder app we're used to on our Mac. So here are all the file management tips that you need to know to get the most out of your iPad. I'm going to be using my M4 iPad Pro, but you don't need a Pro model. You don't even need one of the newest iPads. You just need to make sure your iPad does support iPadOS 26. So I have the Files app in my dock on my iPad here at the bottom. This is what it looks like. So when you open it up, you have a sidebar here on the left that we'll talk about in a second, and then your main viewing window here on the right. If you click on the three dots at the top, you have a few options, but at the bottom, edit sidebar. This is where you can really customize this sidebar to what's most useful for you. Then you have your favorites section. So if there are folders that you use most frequently and want quick access to, you can add the folders here. And you can always press the red button to delete them or drag them and reorder them here with that handle on the right. Then you have a location section, which is where your files and documents are actually stored on your iPad or in the cloud or any services. If you use Google Drive or Dropbox, you can toggle on and off which ones you use and want to see. And then below that, you have the tags section, which is what you can use to help organize your files and documents. And then to save your changes, you would just hit the check mark in the top left. Now, if I go over to my documents folder, let's say I wanted to add one of these other folders to my favorites section. All you would have to do is long press on the folder. At the bottom, you'll see an add to section and favorites, and then it'll show up here. It still lives within my documents folder, but now I have a quick link to that specific work folder in my sidebar, and I can just swipe to remove it if I don't actually want it there. Now, to create a brand new folder, you can press this folder button here at the top and it'll show up at the bottom. So you can name it whatever you need to. If you click on the arrow to the left of a folder, it'll expand it within the list, or you can click on the folder to actually enter it. There's also thankfully a lot more we can customize now in this Files app. So you can pick and choose what columns you want to see here at the top by pressing the three dots on the right and then just selecting which property you want to add or remove. You can also change the size of the column. So there's a little grayed out handle to the left that you can drag. You can also hold on a column name to reorganize and reorder them. And you can also press this button here at the top if you rather see the folders as icons, in columns, or you can even go into the view options if you wanted to sort the folders and files a certain way, group them by type or date, or even change the size of the icons if you wanted them to be a little smaller. If I go over to my recents for a second and go back down to view options and group by, this can be really helpful, I find, if you go by kind, because then you can see all of your documents in one area, all of your images in another, and sometimes I find it just a little bit easier to organize it that way. Another thing that's super useful is you can long press on any file type and hit Get Info to see more information. So you can see the size of the file, you can see when it was created or last opened, and the path where the file actually lives in your folders. And probably my favorite new feature is the ability to now color coordinate and add icons to your folders to make them stand out and just help you organize them a little bit better. So on any folder, if you long press on it, you'll see at the bottom, customize folder and tags. So if you click on that, you can click to add a tag, and this is how you add the color. So a color is associated with a tag. I wish there were a way to add colors without a tag, but this is the only way to do it right now. So you can select any color, you can add a new tag if you want to customize one. Then you have a whole bunch of different icons to add to the folder, or you can always hit the emoji button to actually pull up the traditional emoji keyboard. I think I prefer these a little bit more than the icons. And what's great is any of the folder customizations you make, so color and icon, can also sync across all of your Apple devices as long as it's a folder within iCloud, within your iCloud drive. So over here on the left in that locations area, I have an iCloud drive. This is where almost all of my folders and files live. If I go to the on my iPad, which is files and folders that live only on my iPad on this one specific device, it's empty. I try to keep nothing in here. I really try to put everything in iCloud Drive so that I can access it on my Mac or my phone as well. Or if something's not in my iCloud Drive, I might have it in Google Drive or Dropbox, just depending on what it is and what I use it for. And I personally really like having my Google Drive and my Dropbox in this Files app to keep everything together now. So regardless of what file I'm looking for, I don't have to go to a different app. I hate the Google Drive app, probably even worse than the old Files app, but here I just see everything in the same way and in the same place. And what's really great is for these folders in Drive or Dropbox, I can't customize them with the color and the emojis, but I can still add the same tags. So if I long press on this contracts folder that's lives in my Google Drive, I can still go to tags and see all of the tags I've already created. So if I then want to look for everything I've tagged under my Brooke Tierney tag, everything will show up. Things that are in iCloud Drive and in Google Drive. Now, if you are someone that is going to keep everything in iCloud Drive like I do, if there are things that are super important that I want to make sure that I can always access and always work on them regardless of where I am if I have no Wi-Fi, what you can do is if you go back to the main folder and long press on it, you can click Keep Downloaded. So anything in this folder, regardless of where it's added from, if I add a file from my Mac, if I add a file from my iPhone into this Media Kits folder, will now download automatically and stay downloaded on my iPad at all times. Now, to actually move your files into different folders or even apps, you have a few options to do that. You can hold on a file and hit the move button to move it into any of your folder, into a different folder here. You can also just drag and drop it by holding it over the folder you want to move it into. So now if I go to Documents, we'll see that image here. And if you want to move multiple things at once, you would have to hit the select button first. If you are trying to move a lot of different files, I recommend actually doing it using multiple windows. I find it a lot easier to drag and drop. So to do that, you would use split screen. And to go into split screen, you do have to be in the windowed apps mode. You cannot be in full screen mode. And then you can use the little handle in the bottom right to resize the window. Or if you go over to the green dot, that's the easiest way to split screen one, and then go down to your Files app, long press on it, new window, and you could just flick that one to the right, because then I find it a lot easier to select multiple things and then just drag them into whatever folder I'm trying to put them in. Now, I would say though that most of the files that I'm dragging and dropping on a daily basis come from my downloads folder. If I go into my dock here at the bottom, you'll see I actually have downloads here. I can click to open, see everything in my downloads that I've recently downloaded, and then drag them. So let's say I'm writing out a note and I've downloaded an image from the internet that I want to add to my note. From my note, I can just drag up to get my downloads, click on the image, and drag it into the note. That way I don't have to go to the Files app first to find it and bring it over. I can just drag it from my dock. And so to add any folder to your dock, doesn't have to be the downloads folder. You can add any one. You can just drag the folder onto your dock, or you can long press to right click, go down to add to, and you'll see the option add to dock. And you can add multiple folders to your dock. So now I have the downloads folder and this new one I just added. And if you long press on the folder, you can change how the items are sorted, and you can change if it looks like a grid or a fan when you click on it. So a grid would look like that, or I prefer to have them as a fan. And to remove a folder, you would just go to the options and remove from dock. Now, along with the redesigned Files app, iPadOS 26 also brought a brand new preview app to your iPad. So when you did update to iPadOS 26, you probably saw this preview app appear. And most people I've spoken to either absolutely hate it or absolutely love it. So let me know in the comments if you love it or hate it. But here are a few tips for working with it. So now when I go to open any file, image, PDF document, anything like that, for example, this PDF document, it's going to open in the new preview app. So if I quickly go to my app switcher, you'll see I'm now in the preview app. I'm no longer in the files app. And this new preview app can sometimes be helpful. I do find it most helpful when I'm working with PDFs because I can quickly mark something up. I can autofill a signature or something like that. I find it great for PDFs, but images, I find it really, really annoying. So there is something you can thankfully do about that. First of all, if I am looking for a file, if I just quickly want to see what it is, I don't want to go into a completely new app. So if you long press on it, you can just do quick look. It'll show you a preview within the Files app. So you'll see I'm still in the Files app. Quick look is still within the Files app. And then you can just press the X to get out of it. So let's say I wanted all my images to open with quick look within the Files app and not boot me out to the preview app every single time. What you can do is long press on your image, go down to open with, and then you can select the default action when you click on an image. For quick look, at the bottom, preview with quick look. I know that's super confusing because the new app is called preview, but this just means you're going to preview the image in quick look, not in preview. You see how stupid that is? Anyways, so I'm going to select preview with quick look. So now, anytime I press an image, whether it's a JPEG, a PNG, any image file type within the Files app, when I click on it, it's automatically going to open in quick look. You'll see if I go to the switcher, I'm still in the Files app. It has not opened up the preview app. And you can set each different file type to open with a specific app. So images, we said open with quick look, but let's say PDF documents. Let's say I hate preview and I want to always use a PDF reader. I can long press on PDF documents, go to open with, and then any apps I have installed that work with PDFs, I can select from this list. Same thing for text files. If I long press and go to open with, I can have them always open with Pages. Another reason to use the quick look feature versus the preview app is if you want to quickly look at things within a folder, everything within the folder. If I long press on the PDF document and go over to quick look, now I can just swipe between everything in that folder. So I can go to the image, I can go to the PDF document. If I had 10 different PDFs in this folder, I could do the same thing, just keep swiping between them. There's also thankfully much better support now for external drives, which is so long overdue. So if you have any sort of external hard drive, SSD, or even a thumb drive, you can plug it into the USB slot on your iPad. It'll appear here under locations, your external drive, so you can see what's in it. And if you right click, now you have the option to rename the drive. You can press get info if you wanted to see how it's formatted, the capacity, how much storage is available, things like that. Or if you press erase, don't worry, it won't automatically erase it. You can press erase, and now you can actually format the drive. A few more options here at the bottom, or you can press the big scary red erase button to actually wipe the drive. So that's everything you need to know about the new Files app on your iPads. Let me know what features do you think it's still missing that you would like to see. And also let me know in the comments down below what other videos you want to see from me this year. So that's it. Have a great day. Bye.
Well, comments or questions on that one?
I thought that was great video. That was one of the best we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more from her, maybe.
I'll second that.
She only does them once. She does one a month. I've been looking.
Have we seen her before?
She was a little bit fast
Yes.
for me, so I've got to listen to it again and again and again, but she had good content.
Well, it's a good thing they're recording this, huh?
Yes, it is. Good.
Well, we also have the list of, better yet, we have the list of videos that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
they're
on
in
a
the, I put them in the
PDF,
chat. I didn't put them in there till after the meeting started, but they're in there.
and it's on the PDF in the BBS, and you can click on it.
I mean, there's a lot of
Yes,
stuff
Jan.
sitting through.
Jan's got a question.
Well, I like that she was so candid and so honest about things. My question is, I haven't very much used the files department on iPad. And I'm not clear what things are syncing. If you have them on the iCloud drive, does that mean they will be on all your devices?
Yes.
If you're syncing, yes.
As she pointed out, though, you got to have the iCloud turned on.
Yeah. I'll have to look at this.
The Files app on your phone, it exists on the phone also, but I don't think it'd be that useful because the screen's so small.
Right.
The Files app, just think of it as the finder for the iPad.
Yes, indeed.
Jen, long time ago, I learned never to put, there was an old saying, never to put all your eggs in one basket. So, iCloud is one location, and she mentioned, and I didn't
You
really
need to keep your
quite
foot
care, but you have to have it someplace else also, just for safety reasons.
But if you want it to be on both the Mac and the iPad, it has to be on iCloud. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
So when she showed us how to always download a folder to the iPad, will that still be being synced to iCloud, or is it now
Yes.
only being
Yes.
updated on your device?
Yeah.
no,
The
you've taken
master,
it up.
the iCloud at Apple is the master. It has everything all the time. You can choose to not have anything downloaded until you click on. That's a little, she didn't explain the little cloud icon with the down arrow. That means it's in the cloud. If you want to use it, you click on it, and that turns into a cloud with no arrow. That means it's on your device also.
I have another
Go ahead,
question.
Jen.
If you put a new file on your device and it's big, you'll see an up arrow, meaning it hasn't finished uploading to the cloud yet. And once it's done, that goes away.
Okay.
I have a question. Kenji, your picture is very small here, but it looks like you have a tail and horns. Is that what you have?
It's actually Cupid's rainbow.
Oh.
Oh,
It's
I
a,
thought it was new look.
I mean Cupid's arrow. That's what it's called. It's on the Embarcadero near the ferry building. But yes, I'll accept the horns.
That's what it's called. Okay.
So towards the end of that, she said she right-clicked something with her pencil. Is there a right-click
No.
button on the pencil?
She didn't explain that she was using the pencil, that there's clickable things on the pencil. She didn't explain that.
All right.
So is there, if you press a button on the pencil, you can right-click things on?
I believe, I don't have a pencil, but I would imagine you can assign the click to do different things.
Yes, picture it as a skinny mouse.
I have this big fat rubber stylus that I paid a lot of money for at a Macworld that I like very much, but it's dumb. I could do most of the stuff she's doing, dragging it around with a fatter tip. But
that just replaces your finger.
Yeah, basically, exactly.
It's not smart.
No, it's like I said, it's a big dumb piece of rubber.
It needs to be sharpened.
But oh no, if I sharpen it, it wouldn't work. It
Oh.
needs the flat contact surface for capacitance, like your finger does. But I like this thing a lot. And anyway, so that was really interesting. What my general takeaway from their whole demonstration was, this really endangers the Mac.
Yes.
No.
Because it was looking very Mac-like there.
No.
Well,
So is Apple ever going to get a touchscreen Mac? Or are they going to keep the touchscreen on the iPad in order to push sales to the iPad? Because everybody else has touchscreen laptops.
Yeah. Well, time will tell in that regard. Let's move on to the next video. Fourth video is by Gary Rosenzweig. 10 Mac app icons and what they represent. Explore the design and meanings behind some of the Mac app icons you look at every day.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let's take a look at the design of some of the app icons on your Mac. So let's start by looking at the Finder icon. The Finder is probably the biggest app on your Mac that you may not even think of as an app, but it is. It allows you to view, manage, and organize your files and folders. And it has a very recognizable icon. In fact, most people consider this to be the icon for Mac OS because for years it pretty much was. It started out looking a little different back in 1984. It just had a little symbol that looked like the Mac, but there was the face. And for years that evolved until we hit the two faces design in the 90s. This is when it also got its blue color that we know today. It actually has changed very little from the 90s, evolving with most versions of macOS and including Tahoe, where it now has slightly different shades of blue and a slightly different look. But anybody would recognize it from the original blue design in the 90s. It also has a similarity to a Picasso painting called Two Women. And you could see it here and why people think that Apple got their inspiration for this icon from this painting. There's another Picasso painting called Two Girls Reading that I think looks even more like it. It's also said that Apple got its design for its original Macintosh icon way back in 1984 from Picasso as well. Now let's take a look at Apple's browser, Safari. Safari is a term that means an expedition to observe animals. So the idea of taking a safari to look at websites is kind of what they were going for here. Just another way of saying surf the web or browse the web. And Apple chose a compass icon here that kind of evokes exploration and all of that. It's changed over the years, but it's remained bluish and kind of has the compass point pointed a little bit off of north, maybe to evoke the idea of exploring. A lot of icon design is just like regular artwork where you can kind of get different things from what you see there. Maybe the original designers intended you to see that, or maybe they just intended it to be vague so you can see what you want in the design. Now let's go to the icon that inspired this video because so many people ask what this icon represents. This is the preview icon, and in it is this little device called a loupe, L-O-U-P-E. It is a little magnifying glass that you can sit down on top of something, a photo, a map, a document of some sort, and it sits the perfect distance so you can magnify what's under it. It's kind of like a magnifying glass. But the problem with using a magnifying glass in an icon for preview is that a magnifying glass is the universal symbol now for searching. And this isn't an app that you're searching. This is an app where you're actually looking at something, examining it closely. So it fits the idea of a loupe more, even though most people may not have ever even seen an actual loupe in person. Now let's go to an icon that you probably know what it represents. Most people do, but for how much longer? The phone app icon is an old-fashioned phone handset. It's basically the top part of this old-fashioned phone, although the same design for the handset remains today. You could still buy brand new landline handsets that look pretty much like this. At least the actual part that you hold to your face looks like this, even if the device underneath it is very different. And of course, a lot of people today don't have landlines at all. So eventually this icon will just be the icon that people recognize for phone apps, and they won't actually have ever seen the physical object. Here's another icon that has a physical object that may eventually be completely gone. This is the photo booth icon. So this is the app on your Mac that allows you to use your camera to take pictures. Now, a photo booth is this little portable room where you can go in, sit down, and then it takes usually 4 photos quick succession after you pay some money. Decades ago, you would see these in various different public places and amusement parks, things like that. And you actually still find them today because people do like them, and you can actually hire them for parties, for instance. It's a really neat way to capture yourself because the 4 photos allow you to change your expression or gestures, things like that, while you're in the photo booth. And the strip that would come out is the strip of 4 photos, which is the icon for the photo booth app. And in fact, the photo booth app has a mode where you could actually do exactly that. It will take 4 photos in quick succession, and then you get this combination of the 4 of them. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Now let's take a look at the calendar app icon. And looking at this, you may not recognize it at all because you may not actually ever see the real icon. If you look in your applications folder, you will see this. It's an icon that represents a calendar, strangely with only 24 days in it. But if you actually have the calendar icon in your dock, or you search for calendar using Spotlight, you won't see this. You'll see a calendar icon that shows you the actual date. So most of the time that we view it, we don't see the real icon, the default icon. We see this variation of it that gives us some useful information. And related to that is the clock icon, which also has a default look showing 10:09. But if you put the clock icon in the dock, that icon will actually show you the real time. But strangely for that one, if you do find it in Spotlight, you'll see that 10:09 time. Now, a lot of icons, of course, represent physical objects that bring to mind the functionality of the app. And this one is a really good example. Although most people get the word wrong. When you see this icon, the icon for Keynote, the word that probably comes to mind is podium. But this isn't a podium. A podium is something that you stand on that elevates you a little bit, like when you get awarded first, second, or third place after a race. And you certainly can have podiums that you stand on to make a presentation. But this icon doesn't show a podium. It shows a lectern. A lectern is a little table, usually with a slanted top, where you can rest your notes or your Mac while you make the presentation. But don't feel bad if you've gotten that wrong, because language changes over time, and more the word podium is being accepted as a description for a lectern. If you walk into a room that just has a lectern and then somebody says, stand behind the podium, you know what they're talking about. Now, I'm not a big user of the podcast app on Mac, but I do love the icon. The icon shows a little icon of a person, but with the circular radio waves coming out of that person, like you might see in many different symbols going back decades for radio towers. So the idea is you're broadcasting not from a radio tower, but from you, which describes podcasts very well. In addition, I kind of think the person icon looks like a lowercase I, which brings to mind the I for iPod, which is where podcasts originally got its name. I want to quickly mention some other app icons that have objects in them. There's, of course, the Find My app, which kind of looks like a radar display. Another one is the system information icon, which shows a measuring device called a caliper. Typically today, we see more squared off calipers for measuring the outside dimensions of something, but you could still find the curvy caliper, which I think looks kind of neat. And then disk utility has changed over the years, but now it shows a hex wrench adjusting a hex nut, which is kind of a neat icon as well. Rather new app from Apple is the Journal app, and that is a really cool icon. To me, it looks like a butterfly. So what does a butterfly have to do with journaling? Well, a butterfly is seen as a symbol of change, of growth, of metamorphosis. And journaling is seen as an activity you do for personal growth. So butterflies are kind of associated with activities like journaling, and I think the icon looks pretty neat. Now, one icon that doesn't look particularly remarkable when you first glance at it is the Maps icon. It looks just like some map symbols, but it actually is showing you a specific location. It's the intersection of I-280 and Wolf Road, which is just outside of Apple Park. As a matter of fact, you can see the circle of the Apple Park building right there in the icon. And there's another icon that features Apple Park, the new redesigned Tahoe version of the image capture app. Shows the little rainbow sculpture in Apple Park. Here's a view of it from Apple's last Worldwide Developers Conference keynote event. Now, there's one more icon I want to show you, and that's the one for Automator. And it's just a little robot icon. It looks new in macOS Tahoe, but it's always featured this little robot. And the neat thing about it is the robot has a name. The name is Otto. Just Otto because it's Automator. I don't think this appears officially anywhere, but lots of people have just referred to this little friendly robot as Otto. So it's kind of neat that Automator is an app that has a little mascot. So which of the app icons that I mentioned do you like the most? Or perhaps you like one of the other app icons, one I didn't mention, even better. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Comments or questions?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice if you could change the icons. I mean, I'd like to put a crank phone on the phone one, for instance.
You used to be able to use ResEdit to change icons. I wonder if you still can. Any idea, John?
What, ResEdit? Absolutely not. Can you change them? I don't know. ResEdit was an OS 9 thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but that's what it was for doing things like changing icons.
Well, I'd like to think I didn't know what you're talking about because it's OS 9, but I had no idea what Rosetta is.
ResEdit stood for Resource Editor.
Oh, and here I thought it was something about the Rosetta Stone.
And there was a famous graphic book that was called Zen and the Art of Resource Editing, right? Isn't that the name of it? Something like that?
You could edit all the graphical things that they used in files. You could replace them, edit them. I think you could actually edit them pixel by pixel, like drawing, I think. Been a long time. Never really used it.
All right, so we'll move on.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, it was interesting to just see what was behind them. Only one miscellaneous item, thanks to Tom Wells of Proper Honest Tech. Did you notice you can sort the apps on your iPhone by the date that you last used them, which would allow you to quickly find the apps that you've not touched in a while, which would make it easier to delete them. It's very simple to do. You simply go to Settings, General. From Settings, General, pick iPhone Storage. And there's a little sorting button up on top there. They're sorted by size in the default mode. If you press and hold on that, you can select last used date. So if you like to sort your, excuse me, I'm having a little trouble in my throat. If you'd like to sort your iPhone items by last used date, that's the way you do it. On to Q&A and social hour.
Okay, you can end your share, and any final thoughts for the recorded meeting for the public? Anything about the meeting, or we'll move on to general Q&A, which is only for DVMUG members. Hearing none, I will stop the recording. Stop.